Right now, the market's tough. Real estate in 2020 went like off the charts, right? Everything sold in 5 minutes. Money was dirt cheap. But the market was just as hard back then because for every listing you had, there was 20 offers.
It's just hard in a different way.
Yeah, I was talking to another entrepreneur about this the other day, and he was like, yeah, it's getting really competitive and it's getting really hard. I'm like, dude, every business is getting more competitive and getting really hard. That's just the nature of the beast. So like, buckle up.
Today on Beyond a Million, we're speaking with Oliver Graf. He's built and scaled multiple businesses and is also the co-founder of Big Block Realty, which is an 8 times Inc. 500 company with over 1,000 agents nationwide. You will learn a ton from this podcast, and here are 3 key takeaways you won't want to miss. 1, tactics for incentivizing staff and engaging your team. 2, a scorecard for making hard decisions easier. And 3, criteria for deciding when to quit something. Let's dive in.
Oliver Graf, I appreciate you coming 0.2 miles to visit me in sunny Carlsbad.
All the way over here. Cheers. Glad to be here.
Cheers,
We've been trying to do this for a while, so it's nice to finally put this together.
So you had me on your show years ago in a horrible audio situation, but like backstage of Traffic and Conversion Summit.
As they were breaking it down.
We're drinking beer and, trying to stay focused. But it was a blast.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to get a chance to flip the tables and talk about you and Big Block and what you're doing next. So
yeah, man. Happy to be here.
Little backdrop. I've known you for probably 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
At least, yeah.
And give me the stats on Big Block, because you've got these accolades and numbers that are just impressive for people. And I say them, but I mess up the numbers too.
So just a quick backstory, I guess. We run a non-traditional real estate brokerage. Non-traditional in the sense that we pay our agents 100% commission as opposed to a percentage of the deal. So that makes it more like a membership model. So they join the brokerage, they pay low fees. If they're doing production, we help them maximize their profits on every single deal for their membership. And I think because we've kind of taken that non-traditional approach and kind of really gone the opposite direction of like most other real estate brokerages, is what allowed us to grow so fast. So some of the stuff you're talking about is, we have over 1,000 agents in California and other states. We have a few franchisees. We have been in the Inc. 500 8 years in a row. We were in the top 50 3 times. We've sold. We've had years where we've done over $4 billion.
Couldn't you just say the top 64 times?
Yeah.
Because one year you were 56, right? And you were 56 10 years into business.
Yeah.
I mean, that growth at that point is pretty sick.
Yeah. So, been in the Real Trends Billionaires Club for real estate, top brokerages nationwide. I think we're in the top 100, considering we're like a relatively smaller independent. It's been a fun ride.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I want to talk about the beginning and then talk about kind of some of the growth mechanisms here and levers.
Yeah.
In the beginning, your first office, I think, I visited, and you had some people up the stairs, in the back hall, on the phones. And at the time, you were also playing with or doing online marketing for other people.
Right.
So you had kind of a marketing agency while you started Big Block.
Yeah.
What was the first big jump where you were like, oh, this is the right thing? Because you were doing multiple things at that point.
Yeah. So to color that in a little bit, when we first started Big Block, this was kind of a new idea. Let's do a membership model. Like we were, at that point, we've been in the real estate game 4 or 5 years, and we wanted to open up our own place, but we didn't want it to be like every other brokerage. We didn't want to do floor time. We didn't want to do mandatory meetings. We kind of just wanted to be left alone because we we had a lot of experience with marketing and getting deals and all that. And we really just wanted to plug in somewhere where we could get good support, good training, things like that. And what we found was there was two sides of the coin. There was either the full service, big box, the big names that you would know, which are, they take a good percentage of your commission. You come to the office, it's very structured, things like that, which is great for certain people. And then on the other side of the coin, the more independent style was very just like rent a broker, like don't call us, we'll call you, like no support, no training, no nothing. And so our goal was to kind of find that middle spot where we could really empower agents to go out, be entrepreneurs, do their own thing, do their own marketing, put as much money back in their pockets so they can put it back into their business. And at the beginning, we didn't really know if this was going to work. It was kind of, like this seems like a good idea, but I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. At the time we were, experimenting with a lot of marketing, which is I think how we met through War Room and Traffic and Conversion Summit and all that. And back in those days, as we were building Big Block, it was as most entrepreneurs, it's a slow and steady grind. And so we were basically doing anything we could to kind of keep things moving, keep bills paid, keep overhead, moving, things like that. And that's where we started doing little marketing projects for different people, which ended up being really cool. Like we've worked with a top surf photographer here in town and helped him sell a few $100,000 in art in one weekend, which was like, for them, like unheard of.
Yeah.
So different, just got to do different cool stuff like that. But then as Big Block started to kind of gain momentum, and again, to your point, like we literally started it just picking up the phone and smiling and dialing. Like we were just salespeople. We took
calling agents,
trying
to convince
and
them
just saying, hey, like there's another model. Have you heard of this? Are you familiar? Have you heard of 100% commission? Here's how it works. Here's why we think it might be a good fit. Da 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 da. We had a question-based script, and we would just do that all day, every day. It was just me and Sam, and my business partner, who I think has also been on the show.
Sammy K.
Yeah,
man. It's like episode 2 or 3 or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
So check that one out too. But yeah, we were just, it was literally like me, him, and another guy in a room just pounding the phones all day, trying to see if we could get traction. And then we ended up getting our first like 20, 30 agents. And we found that, they were really like believing in what we were doing. Like, wow, this is really good. Like, this is really maybe a better way. Da 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 da. And then that's kind of when it clicked. And so we put a big board in the office with 100 circles on it. And our goal was to get to 100 agents. And then we basically just filled in a little smiley face on each circle for every agent that we got. And then it took us probably another 8-9 months to get to that 100. And then that's when it kind of started to snowball, because we did some creative things around referral programs and different things like that. So making it easy for your clients to refer you business has been like a good strategy for us.
So I want to pause on that, because this is sort of the inflection point of, hey, you're seeing if it'll work or not. It's a new model for the industry at the time, and then you said something which is interesting, and I remember Sam saying this also, but you said your clients. And most people in the real estate space, in the brokerage space, do not refer to their agents as clients.
Yeah.
They refer to the buyers and sellers of real estate as clients.
Yeah.
So tell me about that frame and kind of when that hit you and why it's relevant.
So, okay, we could really go deep on this one, because I think that like our philosophy in general from the beginning was that our agent was going to be our customer and our client, and we believe that if we do the best for them, they will in turn do what's best for the people buying and selling real estate, who we view to be as their clients, even though we're a brokerage and they're all our clients, right? But just in terms of a philosophy, that's how we looked at it. A couple reasons that came to be is I'm a big Seth Godin guy. Loved all of his books, and I remember a lot of his earlier books used to talk about like You don't need R&D if you have a great product. You don't need good marketing if you have a great product. So our whole thing was, if we can just be the brokerage that really cares the most about our agents, our clients, our customer, then that will help us win the game, because no other brokerages are doing that, right? Most of the other brokerages, they looked at the people buying and selling as their clients, and they look at the agents as kind of like a number, right, to help them facilitate their business. Where we really took the opposite approach, which was, we're going all in on the agent. Like, every decision we make, is this best for the agent? And if not, we're not going to do it. And so because of that, because we really have like a hardcore customer first, agent first philosophy, we've really built a great option for agents to plug into, because that's really at the forefront of like every decision, from operations to marketing to everything in between.
Yeah. So I want to go deeper on that. Where does when I talk about onboarding staff or our onboarding clients, I think of it in terms of the entire experience. So we refer to the client experience for Easy Pay Direct. When you're looking at the agent as the client, what was different, or how much emphasis was there on the onboarding process, the support process, and like sort of the maintenance process?
Yeah, so it's 100% different. Like a great book I can recommend is called Tribes. I don't know if you've read it, but it's basically like the way you should look at your onboarding is like the indoctrination into a tribe. So we really look at like every touch point with the customer as an opportunity to like make an impression and do something remarkable, right? Like, most people think remarkable is like something cool, but really it means like worth making a remark over. So if we can, for example, when you join Big Block, we'll send out a giant box of swag and like cool, like just promo stuff, coffee mug, stress ball, license plate frame, everything. And that's totally unexpected. Like, they don't know that's coming. We also send birthday cards. We send work anniversary cards. So every year they've been with us, they get a card. We do monthly socials for our agents. We have, weekly trainings, and every single one of those has been just tailored to give the agent a better experience than they're used to getting.
I love that. We're going to see how good these mics are right now.
Yeah, we are.
Because
I don't know, it's kind of a vibe though. It's kind of swanky and
super swanky.
Frank Sinatra and
super swanky.
Kind of fits the Omni here. So
it does.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. We're also going to see how good the server is.
Yeah,
momentarily
100%.
Here. So, client experience for you is the agent experience.
Yep.
I love that. Let's go back to inflection points, right? You're figuring it out. You've got 30 agents. It moves to 100. How long did it take before you got the Inc? So do you know the Inc math, how the Inc 500's math works?
Yeah.
Because I think that's relevant for people to get, because you can't get it in your second year.
Yeah,
right?
It's minimum 3 years. They go 3 years back and they look at year-over-year growth. And that's off tax returns. So
right.
Yeah.
So they're looking at actual numbers on top line growth.
Yep.
And how far were you in before you hit the Inc list the first time? And the first time, what number was it?
It was 26?
20, I think
Top
you were
30.
26, 32, 20 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years in a row.
I'm blanking on it. It's been a while, but yeah,
that's
it's 26,
crazy.
33, 30 something, and then 56.
Later. Yeah. So how long was it before you hit it for the first time?
In our 4th year.
Okay.
And that's just because that's when we applied. So it's an application process. You go through the process, you send in all your numbers, and then you find out where you rank on the list. If you made it, if you didn't, and what the numbers are. Once
you realized that it was working, what were you doing to grow it? What was the big lever?
Man, that's really like what we all focused on. So again, it was we looked at growth as two things. One, recruiting, bringing in new people, and then retention, keeping the people we have, and helping foster an experience to where we are remarkable and they want to refer us people. So focusing on that from the top down was what did it. And I don't know if you want to go more tactical on that.
Sure, yeah, totally. Because I think the thing is, one of the hardest things in business and in life in general is to take complex topics, drill into a simple concept, and just lean on that concept.
Yeah.
And that's true of mission statements, it's true of core values, and it's true of business mechanics, right?
Yeah.
But if you can figure it out to that, make things remarkable, and everything has to roll to that, it creates at least the idea of a simple framework.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
how you get there...
Check this out. Here's how we got there. This is here's a hot tip. So everyone always tells you not to work in your business, to work on your business. But most entrepreneurs, we get so in the weeds of the day-to-day, we don't really ever do that. So we came up with an idea that was once a quarter, we're going to go on a business retreat. It was me, my partner, and then sometimes we bring, a key staff person or something. But the entire goal was to just work on the business. So the first time we did this, we actually went to Hawaii, which at the time we couldn't afford, wasn't a good idea financially, but we went to a couple masterminds and we came up with this idea and we were like, all right, we're going to go do it and let's just see what we can come up with. And in that trip, man, we were just on the beach, feeling the vibe and just flowing, right? Every day we'd wake up, maybe do something in the morning, but then we'd lock ourselves in the room. And another aside, by room, I mean outdoor patio with umbrellas and a nice view, right? That was our criteria. Is we want to be able to work outside and we want to have a nice view while we're working.
Love it.
So check. But that week, man, we came up with so many good ideas, from referral programs to marketing campaigns. And we really just took the time to step back and work on the business. So one of the specific things that came out of that was a referral program where if someone refers, we call it refer 5 and it's free. So they refer 5 people to join. Now they're free. Their dues are waived. So they're true 100% after that. So that, that ended up really kind of helping in terms of growth, because now we have agents that we're really focused on, really building a great culture, building a great community inside of our business. And then once we did that, now we had a mechanism to incentivize for referrals, right? So we started getting more and more referrals. Another thing we came up with that trip was the Mercedes-Benz giveaway. So every year we give away a lease on a Mercedes-Benz to one of our agents for a referral. So it's literally as simple as every agent, anyone can participate. For every referral you send us, your name goes in the hat. At the end of the year, we literally pull a name out of the hat, and that person gets a 3-year lease on a brand new Mercedes-Benz.
Sick.
And so that's been just different stuff like that. And those come from these getaways that we do, where we're just not thinking about the day-to-day stuff. We're able to really zoom out and kind of look at things differently and just kind of be more creative.
I love that. So I love the idea of blocking the space. And I also think it's really important to get out of the office to do that.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You have to get away from the things that remind you of the tactics of the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And move somewhere else. And it doesn't have to be Hawaii. That's dope, right? But just anywhere else that isn't the day-to-day grind space.
Yeah, so exactly. So here's an even easier one, right? If a lot of people going to Hawaii for a week isn't that simple of an option, and I get that. But why not next time you go to a seminar, stay one extra day, and that one extra day, you just implement something that you learned from the seminar.
I love that.
Right? That has also been really awesome for us, because, we're in a lot of masterminds and different groups like that. And so every time we go, we stay for one extra day, and that last day is when we're able to kind of decompress. The event's over, the networking's over, craziness is over. Now we can just focus on, being creative and implementing something that we learned over the last couple days.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing that struck me when you were talking about that is that your giveaway, the car, at the end of the year, wasn't focused on production. And that's a really interesting concept, because I think for me, when I think about incentives, which functionally that's some sort of incentive, kind of, but what happens is the people that don't believe that they can achieve the highest level, which is most people,
Right. It's open to everybody.
then they just don't even bother.
Exactly.
The referral thing,
Right.
you could get your name in the hat from one,
Yeah.
right? So,
And I do think, not to cut you off there, but I think it's important to have both, because we do have those things that are open for everyone. And then we also have stuff that's exclusive for our top producers, right? We have a private event. It's called Winner Circle. We're actually going on a cruise in December with our Winner Circle group. So Winner Circle is that exclusive thing for the people that are the top producers. So they feel that like VIP experience. It's a higher level event. It's a mastermind. It's usually 2 events a year, and we mix it up between like a little vacation. Like we've gone to Cabo, we've done cruises, stuff like that. And then also like masterminds, traditional style, like bring in speakers and do panels and stuff like that. And that's just for that group.
just for the performers.
Just for the performers, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make them feel special as well, because I agree, it's important that you have stuff for everybody, but you also want to have that stuff for the people that do want to accelerate, that do want to be at the top.
That's great.
Beyond a Million is brought to you by Easy Pay Direct. If you're an entrepreneur and you are still using a product like Stripe or PayPal to accept payments, it is time to find out why the largest names in your industry would never consider doing that. Check out easypaydirect.com/BAM to find out more.
So you've got crazy growth year 4, then 5, then 6, and the momentum keeps going. Are you just pressing the pedal down, or are you trying to, do you have more of these retreats where you find new things to?
Yeah, so the retreat we were doing once a quarter at that time. So it was like, it became a really important part of our business. And we started, we weren't going to Hawaii every time. We started going to like just local, within a 30-minute drive, but somewhere on the beach or somewhere in the mountains, nice view, outdoor workspace. And we would take those retreats, and it was, sometimes we would go with like a specific problem. Like, we are going to figure out the answer to this problem over the next 3 days, come hell or high water. Sometimes it was, we want to roll out a new marketing campaign, or we want to open up a new market. So we're going to specifically just work on that one thing. And then other times it was more of just like a general, like, we got a list of topics and we're just going to kind of brainstorm all one by one.
And were there other big levers through that? Or what I'm getting at is so there are kind of 2 philosophies, and, or 1,000, but for the sake of simplicity, there are 2 philosophies on growth. And one is be very narrow in your focus and just keep doing the simple thing and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And there are a litany of probably the largest businesses in the world that's it. They're boring and they just kept fucking doing this one thing. Mm-hmm. And then the other is sort of increase LTV for your existing client. Mm-hmm. Hey, costs a lot to acquire a client. How can you make more from that one existing client? Mm-hmm. And often that is shiny object syndrome, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, how do I do additional things that are totally not my core competency, but it may or may not increase volume? As you grew, which path did you take and why?
I'm going to say both, because I do think you kind of have to be a little bit of both. I think we took both in that we remained singularly focused on the agent experience. So that was our singular focus on the big block side. But where the shiny object syndrome came in that we all face as entrepreneurs was, what other businesses can we add on to this? And that's where we looked at increasing revenue as opposed to figuring out how we can get more out of each agent. It was more, okay, now we have this agent base, we're doing this number of transactions. What's attached to that we can bolt on? And the first thing was transaction management, which is basically just like paperwork for real estate agents. A lot of real estate agents that are busy, they don't have time to like make sure all the contracts are schedule all the inspections, stuff like that. So they outsource that usually for $300 to $500 a file. And so we just opened a little transaction coordinating company, hired a few transaction coordinators, and then started integrating them in with our socials and in our back office and in our marketing and social media and whatnot. And so that's where the kind of shiny object syndrome came in, because we just kept doing that, right? Then we did an escrow company, then we did a property management company. Now we're doing a software company for brokers to help them run their business, improve their growth and how quick they're growing, help with retention, and basically it's like a broker management tool.
Sweet. So it assists them in growing their business?
Yes.
See what I did
It
there?
gives them a sweet assist in their business.
Yeah, I love that. I also know that it's a tremendous distraction for so many people.
Yeah.
Did you find that to be, of course, that increased LTV, it grew the company. Two questions. One, in retrospect, was that the choice that resulted in the most growth? Would you have done it differently today?
That's a good question. I've thought about that a lot. Like if we would have just not done any of those other things and just focused on growing Big Block further, faster, which path would have been better? And I don't know that I have a clear answer. Like we might be in more markets, we might have bigger agent count, but whether that would have been bigger and better than focusing on, really we call it like the wheel of a transaction. Like when a house sells, there's like 80 different businesses that touch that house, from a mover to insurance to a mortgage to escrow, title, all these things. So we chose the route of let's start adding in the things from the wheel, and whether that was the right call or not, I don't know. I mean, we're pretty happy with it so far. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say.
So, and you will never know, right?
Right. Yeah.
The other question is more tactical, and I'm just curious. Structurally, are all of those independent arms under the umbrella of Big Block? Is that part of the Big Block company, or are those independent companies legally?
Good question. They are legally different companies, except for transaction coordinating, because we can do that in-house. So that's just a DBA of Big Block Realty. The other ones are all separate entities, separate licensing. Like escrow is a whole different animal, right? Like you need trust accounts and everything's got to be very separate. Funds have to be here, managed in this way, where property management is kind of a little bit more loose, right? There's not so much like regulation and different stuff like that.
So the other question around that, if they're separate entities, is clearly you made them to just scoop the revenue and probably also convenience of the things that are inevitably going to have to happen with all transactions anyway. Do those entities only serve your agents, or do you open it up to other people to use your escrow?
Yeah, no, we open it up. Obviously, like our book of business is a good starting point, but just like everything else, we try to open those up. We try to, again, focus on the experience that everybody's having. So for example, in our escrow company, most escrow companies, they just focus on the person that hired them, which is generally the seller and their agent, where we focus on the experience of both agents, the home seller and the home buyer. So we're in communication with all four parties. We're sending things to all four parties. We're really trying to like enhance the experience for everybody. And again, that'll allow us to try to bring some of those people that work the buy side in to use us on their next listing, and kind of, again, focus on that experience piece.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think about, when I think about those things, having a department inside of your company that serves the rest of your company well versus opening it up to the exterior.
Right.
There are kind of two big things that create extra work. One is modifying operational systems where you're opening the door to a different stream of communication, right?
Yeah.
Internal versus external. And the other is marketing.
Yeah.
The other is like, how, do you go and solicit business to grow that business independently? And do you think about it in terms of, hey, we had this department that we want to, now it's a business, we want to grow it. Did you approach it that way? Did you, and do you today, where you're like, hey, each of these 5 businesses that are not Big Block, but support Big Block agents, are critical to Big Block agents, help us increase the value of every single Big Block agent, our clients? Is it about them, or are you actively trying to grow each of those 5 businesses separately?
It's about whatever is best for the client in each of those businesses, right? That's how we're going to look at it. And I think the division has pros and cons, right? Because the division, in terms of different entities and different this and that and different rules and different guidelines and things like that, creates a lot of chaos. But it also, having those different things, there's also a lot of stuff we can centralize, right? Like bookkeeping, we have one bookkeeper that manages all the companies. Marketing, we have one marketing team that works on all the companies. So there's different things where it makes it a lot easier, and there's other things where it just, complicates things.
Yeah. Devil's in the details there, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I even answered your question, but I took a swing at it.
I like it. Well, let's try again.
Okay.
Do you put any energy behind marketing to specifically grow those 5 companies independently right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you do have some engine that's like, hey, we want to get more transactions to move into our escrow company.
Right.
Even if they're not Big Block transactions.
Yeah, without a doubt. And same thing with property management, right? Like we want to be managing a few thousand doors. Ideally, majority of those come from Big Block, but if not, we're exploring, we're sponsoring networking events, we're sponsoring trade groups, we're on the scene at conferences, different things like that. And then doing, magazine advertising, and then the digital stuff as well.
Now that you're, how many years in are you?
Total for Big Block?
Yeah.
Probably 12 or 13.
So more than a decade in. Now when you look at that, today, are the marketing efforts in those other, what some people would look at as shiny object additions, does the marketing and the growth of those companies distract you from the core today? Because we talked about, like, you don't know, right? We'll never know what the product would have been had you not done that. But I know that when I add things, one of the considerations I consistently have when I'm thinking about, should I do this additional thing, is what the ongoing support is related to it. Yeah. How is it going to change my life moving forward if I go down this path right now?
Yeah.
And immediately my brain goes into, okay, I want to bolt on this thing. Yes, it's going to produce additional revenue. How is it going to impact my day-to-day?
Yeah, exactly.
How is it going to impact, and how will that ripple down to the rest of the core business?
Yeah. Yeah, we look at that pretty simple. I'm a simple guy. I like to keep things simple. And Ryan Dice at one of the war rooms taught us a really awesome system, which is basically like a scorecard for new ideas. Not only new ideas, but scorecard for everything you're doing currently in your business, and then a scorecard for things that you're thinking about doing or new businesses are adding. And it, I could probably dig it up. I don't remember exactly what the things are, but it's like, how difficult is this going to be to do? How big of an impact is this going to have? How much is this going to cost? How much brain damage is this going to cause?
Yep.
And it's basically just 5 simple questions, and you score each one on a scale of 1 to 5. And then at the end, anything that's less than a 20, let's say, is just out, right? And so we've done that a couple times over the years and have found to be pretty effective with that. Even at Big Block, like right after, when coming out of the pandemic and all that, when the dust was settling on all that, like we really took a hard look at everything we were doing, and it was like, let's literally score everything. And I mean everything, like every Instagram post, every podcast episode, every marketing piece, anything that we were doing related to marketing, we scored it on those 5 things.
Oh God.
And then and it took us about a day, and it was a lot, a little back and forth, a little bit of a debate, but we ended up scrapping like 8 or 10 things. And by scrapping those 8 or 10 things, we were now able to bring on, 2 or 3 new things that were more effective at like moving the needle big picture.
Man, that's so hard for so many people. It's so hard, period.
Yeah.
We get attached to something. right? To what we're doing.
Yeah, that's the tough part, is getting attached, or if it was your idea.
Right.
Like, there was a lot of ideas that were my ideas that we ended up scrapping, and it was painful. But like, again, like, I took my emotions out of it. We scored everything. I scored it. My marketing guy scored it. My business partner scored it. We came together and kind of talked through it. And then if it didn't meet, the minimum number, it was just like, let's cut it.
I love that. I mean, objective analysis of actions
Yep.
relative to their movement in the outcome.
Exactly.
Direction to the outcome.
Yep. How much does it cost? How much brain damage? Do I like doing this?
Yeah.
And does it move the needle, basically?
Yeah, I think that we were talking about this before we started, as we were walking up, the element of one of the things that I think when you're new in business, shut the fuck up and just do the thing. And don't overthink it. Do the thing. Do more of the thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the details so much. Do more of the thing.
That's for sure.
Just take a lot of action.
Yeah.
And then as you hit some sort of scale, and it varies from business to business, you hit a point where you need to start looking at what is going to engage you. And if there's an action that you are like, feel like you're pushing a rope, at some point, you can keep pushing the rope and you can make things happen just like you did when you were little, right? But you would be far better served to delegate that out or just pick a different action.
Yep.
And in the case of, you're talking about like different marketing initiatives, people fail so hard on this right now with social because they get stuck in their ego and they just want to be heard. And as I leaned into social personally, the only way I rationalized it, period, is that the content was valuable independently to me for follow-up sequences.
Yeah.
So, look, it catches traction. It doesn't, something pops. It doesn't. It provides top of funnel leads, or it doesn't.
Right.
None of it matters, because what matters is that I got the content that will allow long-term follow-up internally as a company. And that I can get behind.
Yep.
Right. And I enjoy sitting here at the Omni in Carlsbad.
Exactly.
Drinking champagne.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
Right. But if I didn't enjoy it, man, this is off the table.
Right. Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I have the podcast as well, and it's hard to quantify a podcast, right? It's hard to say, because I did the podcast, I got this much business out of it. It's really hard to do that. But what it's great for is networking. What it's great for is getting consulting from really heavy hitter people for free, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've been lucky. I think you had Cardone on your show.
I did.
I've had Cardone on, Ryan Serhant, Robert Kiyosaki. And in the real estate space, like, these guys are absolute legends.
Yeah.
And there's no way you're going to get a meeting with them, right? Like, as some dude that has a brokerage in San Diego. But when you spin it as it's a podcast interview, now all of a sudden I literally get to talk to you for an hour. I get to ask you any questions I want. I get to meet you. We're going to connect, and then we're going to exchange information. And now, like, we now have a relationship based off this podcast, right? So it's like advanced networking and to your point, content for days, right? Like, I'm not the type of dude that likes to like sit in front of a green screen and like shoot a bunch of videos or like do any of that. So I find the podcast is the best way because it's really natural. It's really authentic. It's, we get to go to cool places and drink a beer and have a good conversation, and then use that for networking and content and social and right?
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the genesis of that path was you have to like the things that you're doing. Yeah. Right. That has to be part of the criteria. Definitely. And not all of it, but.
And pause if you don't, go do something else.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually an interesting question, and I'll press pause on the social stuff altogether because I think there's a thread to pull there. But if you don't like it, do something else. That sentence comes with so many asterisks, because first of all, if you're sub 1 million or 2 million, just shut the fuck up and keep doing it. right? And if you don't like it, you should have figured it out well before. But if you find you don't like it when you're like in the path,
Right.
keep doing it until you learn the lessons
Right.
that you need to learn that you can take to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then you can decide that you don't like it. But learn the lessons, right?
For sure.
Build a business big enough where you can take the lessons and the learnings
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
Today, interest rates have tripled, almost. The real estate market is struggling nationwide. Transactions have screeched to a near halt. And as I think people may or may not know, but what the average realtor sells one house a year or
I
none?
think it's 2.5
Two
to
and a half?
3. Yeah.
Okay. Not enough to live on, probably, depending. Tough industry. So when you say if you're not enjoying it, do something else, I have to imagine in these markets, which this is the first time you've hit this in Big Block, you have to have had the sentiment, I don't fucking like this right now.
Well, yeah. Okay. So that's a good distinction, right? There's, do I like this as a business thing I want to pursue, thing I want to spend my time on, thing I enjoy doing? And then there's, right now the market's tough and I need to put my pads on and I need to man up and I need to shake and move and pivot and dance and do whatever we got to do to get through it, which is, you know, we went through it in 2008. You know, we didn't have Big Block at the time, but we were in the business and that was just, you know, that was an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's interesting because it also breeds a lot of opportunity, right? A lot of people, while transactions go down, a lot of people also exit the industry.
Yeah.
So the people that stick around and the people that are working now and grinding now and still selling homes now are the ones that in a year or two, when the market reshifts again and interest rates come back down and all that, they're going to be the ones that are positioned to be ahead of the curve to win. Like we're already seeing, and yes, the market's brutal right now, and we're having to pivot and adapt and kind of shake and move, which we're doing. But it's also there's also opportunities. See, the good thing about a market shift like this is it's not independent of our business, right? It's all the brokers are going through this right now. All the escrow companies, everybody, we're all in this together. And so as some of those ones that are less prepared, those are the ones that start to sell, start to get out of the business. And that presents opportunities again for the guys that stick around, the gals that stick around to come in and pull that market share, right? So that's kind of how we're looking at this time, this market that we're in.
Yeah. Well, look, I obviously I'm drilling into a potentially tender area of.
I mean, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I can do that.
It's not as fun as it was a few years ago.
I can do that.
So back to the
homies.
fun thing, it's not that fun right now. And there's many days where I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
But again, like, do I enjoy the business still? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think there's do I enjoy this as a thing? Like, I'll give a perfect example, right? If you're a dentist and you like hate being all up in people's mouths all day, then like that's a problem.
Yes.
Right? Like whether the market's good or bad, you hate being in people's mouths all day, and that's not going to change whether the market's good or bad. So that's, I think, how you have to look at it in terms of like, do you like it or not?
So the through line here, we'll go back to scoring the activities that you're doing on a routine basis.
Yeah.
Is objective assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I heard and the way that I internalized that was, it's not, you probably have to dig a layer deeper than do I like it or not?
Yeah.
And say, what are the 5 points that contribute to this emotion of liking it?
Right.
Right? Does it check other boxes?
Yeah.
So like when I got into payments, inevitably people are always asking, how did you get into this? And so the story gets told a lot, but I built a list of criteria when I left direct sales, and they were things that I needed in the next gig, right? And it was no cap on income, recession resistant, location independent, tech focused, B2B, the ability to make a lot of money fast. And I found payments checked a lot of those boxes. Yep. The a lot of money fast thing, it does not check.
Right.
And so I did a bunch of real estate investing, and I was flipping homes in 06, 07.
Okay.
So I lost several quarts of blood in that bloodbath.
I'm sure.
But the fundamental there is this idea of objectively looking at the criteria that you can make a decision on. And right now, with real estate down, those check boxes are still checked. It's just one of them might not be. Right.
Yeah.
The fun factor isn't there right now.
Yeah.
But I think that that's also a really important lesson, because it's very easy to say, look, if you're early in business, just fucking do it. But as you make more money and as you pass the point of functional retirement, you have to have deeper reflection and say, am I just being a bitch here?
Right. Exactly.
Or, should I quit?
Or do I want to do something else? Yeah.
So, I think that's important, man. I think like actual objective assessment is important. So you're still in it. You're in real estate. You're not abandoning because the interest rates went up and it sucks a little right now.
I mean, but like, here's the thing, right? And this is what people trip out on. Like, real estate in 2020 went like off the charts, right? Everything sold in 5 minutes. Money was dirt cheap, blah, 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 blah.
Crazy value adds.
Exactly.
Increase in value.
100%. But the market was just as hard back then, because for every listing you had, there was 20 offers.
Yeah.
So it was just hard in a different way, right? It was hard in the sense that, like, shit, I'm not gonna be able to get a property unless I'm willing to pay $100,000 over ask price, and I'm willing to beat out all these other people, and I got to move fast and waive all contingencies and do all these things. Like, that was hard, right? And now it's just a different kind of hard, right? It just moved. Now it's more on the listing side. Like, now I gotta, how do I attract buyers at these higher interest rates? And they're already coming out with creative loans, like 3-2-1 buy downs, where you can get cheaper rates for shorter terms, different stuff like that. So we'll figure it out. We'll get through it.
Well, what I love about that is there are a million sort of parables about this, but at the end of the day, how you respond to a problem is where the value is.
Yeah.
It's not the problem.
Right.
It's how you respond to it.
Yeah.
And that starts with how you think about it. And your thought process there is valid. And you can find empowerment in a million different permutations of the truth. So that truth of it's fucking hard all the time.
Yeah.
It's just hard in a different way.
Exactly.
Is much more empowering than nobody's buying houses.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, I was talking to another entrepreneur about this the other day, and he was like, it's getting really competitive and it's getting really hard. I'm like, dude, every business is getting more competitive and getting really hard.
All the time.
Like, that's just, the more people there are, the more competition there is. That's just the nature of the beast. So, like, buckle up.
Yeah. Or don't play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that is ingrained, it's like a knee-jerk reaction at this point, but frequently people are like, oh, how you doing? And it's this bullshit initial conversation you have to have with everybody in your life all the time, right? Anybody you haven't seen for a week.
Right.
Hey, how's everything going? I'm like, ah. And it's fucking busy right now. And that's my response. I feel busy. I'm trying to do more than I probably should. I probably should pare down on things. It's busy. But the following sentence is, yeah, but it's what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, I'm electing for this to be the
sitting
case.
on the couch every day and not having anything to do.
Oh my God.
That'd be way worse, right? So
yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible for me.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Oliver Graf, I have a million other questions, but I also know that we're approaching the hour here. What do you want to push, man? You've got, what's the YouTube channel?
I have a Founders Club podcast where we do entrepreneurial interviews, founders, real estate investors, brokers, all that kind of stuff. I'm on social, Oliver Graf 360 at everything. Oliver Graf, GRAF 360. Perfect timing. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Love it.
Good times.
And the YouTube channel is Oliver TV. Did I fuck that up?
Oliver Graf TV.
Nice.
Yeah, but if you just search Founders Club or Oliver Graf, you'll find me.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you carving out time, man.
Yeah, connect. Let me know you found me on this podcast, and we'll say what's up.
Until next time.
My man.
Love it. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed doing it. I need your help. There are 3 places you can find Beyond a Million. The podcast itself, beyondamillion.com, which has some cool free resources, including a free course. And we finally launched the Beyond a Million YouTube channel. I would love it if you would go there and subscribe. And if you don't want to, you still would probably enjoy seeing the visual content. Check it out, youtube.com/@Beyond a Million.